Rommel, you magnificent bastard, I read your book!
Hello, and welcome to another Steel Division Divisional overview. And today we're taking a look at the American 4th Armored Division, Georgie's Boys, or oh god, why did they add such a broken, overpowered division into a DLC and didn't fix it for many, many months. They're not as overpoweredly broken as they were when they first released. You may remember lobbies of you joining like a 3v3 and all three allied players are playing 4th Armored. It's not that bad anymore. Desert Ranch has taken that spot, but 4th Armored is still a very powerful division. So let's take a look at what makes it very powerful. So in terms of income, you got 80 points on A phase, which is, pretty standard. Been 130 in B and 130 in C, so you really kick off the bat once you get into B phase. You're making loads of money. 36 activation points, pretty standard. In terms of slots, it's all pretty standard. Nothing really too crazy. Good amount of infantry and tanks and everything else. Nothing too much. Anti-air's a bit lackluster, but you're Americans. You have really good anti-aircraft units. You are card efficient, so it's not that big of a deal. So let's jump into the Recon tab. And you got 2-man Recon teams. You got the Bantam. I don't really know why it's called the Bantam, because the Bantam is actually the name of the manufacturer of the release Jeep. It has some other fancy name to an armored version of a Jeep. Nonetheless, it's a Jeep 50 cal with one front and one side frontal armor. They're alright. They're pretty good for force recon, and it's better than unarmored 50 cals. This can take a few hits. Yeah, it can still get suppressed and killed by machine gun fire, as it is only one frontal armor. Now, the real interesting recon choice for 4th Armored are the Cavalry Scouts, as a very nice mix of like a CQC / bazooka team, like a Ranger Marauders, for example, but with a 6-man squad. You got 2 grease guns. This is the only unit in game that uses grease guns, by the way. 4-in-1 carbines and the Zook, and they're pretty nice. Once you get into B phase, they do come with some veterancy. They also come in a very nice WC-52, which also has a 50 cal on top, which does make this a bit more expensive. But it's a very nice recon unit, and like with Ranger Marauders, for example, you can usually get a sneaky bazooka shot onto an enemy tank or armored vehicle when they least expect it. You can also get recon in M20s, more Cav Scouts, and of course some M8 Greyhounds. These are not the last we're going to be seeing of the Greyhounds. Infantry. This is an armored division, but you also got infantry division American infantry division options like you do with 2nd Infantry. You got regular rifles and engineers, which is something you'd see in American infantry deck. But at the same time, you got armored LMG rifles and armored rifles as well, with half tracks. So you got a nice mix of both. A phase is very interesting because you got the LMG rifles and just regular rifles and in trucks, and in B phase you get the engineers, the armored rifles, right out how we would use machine guns, and then there's some armored leaders, also some engineer leaders if you so desire. Really, for 4th Armored is you take pretty much a lot of rifles in A phase, as use them as your main infantry, maybe get some engineers and armored rifles later on. The LMG rifles are also pretty nice, as they're one of a few allied infantry units I can go toe-to-toe, a Panzer Grenadier, and a machine gun fight. But yeah, you got really nice infantry options. Nothing. I mean, you got quite a lot of numbers in terms of armored rifles and engineers, but it isn't like 2nd Infantry where you can just rifle spam. You have to use some other units at least. Tank tab is very interesting. The first thing we get is an Abrams. Unfortunately, it's not an M1 Abrams tank, but it's Abrams within an M4 Sherman tank. This is a really good A-phase tank. It's your only A-phase tank, but it's a regular Sherman with 2-star veterancy, and it's also a command unit with 2-star veterancy, so it has a huge command aura, and coupled in with something that we're going to see in the anti-tank tab, it will give the enemy an awful lot of hell, rink rink. It's still a really great A-phase unit. It's a bit more on the expensive side compared to your more regular Sherman, but it's got a cool paint job. You're paying for the cool paint job. B phase is where you get Stuarts, and you get a lot of Stuarts. You think B-Face Sturge wouldn't be good, but oh no, you'd be surprised, because these M5A1 Sturge are 25 points cheaper than your regular M5A1 Sturge. I just want to emphasize 25 points cheaper. That's an insane discount, and it's such a ray that you can buy 2 M5A1 Sturge per minute once again to B-Phase. So if you want to, you can just get a lot of Sturge and just flood the enemy with Sturge. It used to be really effective when 4th Armoured was first released, and a lot of people didn't really realise that Sturge spam could be so potently powerful. Nowadays, I'd say not so much. You may be better off using some Shermans and 76 Shermans as well. But it's still a pretty good strategy. I'd still recommend taking some Sturge, especially some of the run-style runs, as you can get 2 of them in a minute. It's extremely useful. It's very handy in a pinch when you just need some armor, on a flank here or yeah. And Sturge are a fantastic tank, fantastic light tank, great fire support capabilities at close range, where it's machine guns, maneuverable. You can kill Panther 4s with it if you get close enough, and it's not too hard as you have 8 AP. At 1 kilometer range, it's a nice little tank with a really good discount. You also got regular M4A runs, which you can get 1 per minute off thanks to the income, and you got M4A176s. These aren't as good as A3 models with 76, as you lose 2 frontal armor, but it's also a command vehicle, which is nice, and they all have 1-star veterancy, which is also rather nice. And then C-Phase, you got some Rhino tanks. Support is pretty cool. You got single A-phase supply trucks. You get no supply trucks in B, but into C-Phase, oh boy, you got these M30 cargoes, which are very interesting, as they carry a bit less compared to a regular supply truck, but it has 4 frontal armor and 4 side armor. So this thing can survive being counter-batteried, for example. And you get quite a lot of them in C-Phase. It's a rather nice amount. You got some M20 commands, you got some regular M8 Greyhounds, which are only 65 points, which is a pretty nice deal, a bit cheaper than your recon version, but it doesn't have the recon optics. Of course, you can get some veterancy ones as well. M8 Scots if you really want. I never really found the Scot to be all that useful. You can also get command versions of the M8 Greyhound, as well as some M4105s. Now, these M4105s used to be also available in A-Phase and single, 2 cards worth of ROM per card, and they were extremely broken in A-Phase, as you could just kill all the other Axis anti-tank guns from a safe distance and stun up all the Axis tanks such as Renaults and Panzer IIIs at a safe distance. And back then, with what we're about to see in the anti-tank tab, it made 4th Armoured extremely broken in A-Phase. They're not as broken just because they don't have as 105 Shermans in A-Phase. Now they're just a very good A-Phase division rather than a very broken A-Phase division. Anti-tank, yeah, we got Zukas, we got 57mm guns, and we got some 76mm guns, but let's talk about the Hellcat, because that's what you want to hear. 4th Armoured, it's all about the Hellcat. This is the real pinnacle of this division, the real heart and soul, the meat of the 4th Armoured division. It's what we all wanted, because when the game first came out, no division had Hellcats. You're like, where's Hellcats? I drove around it and rode a tank in War Thunder. It goes 90 kilometers an hour. It's the fastest tank ever. I want it. Well, I added it in 4th Armoured. It's a really good anti-tank. Tank Destroyer is the official name. It's less armoured in the Wolverine. It lacks 4 extra armour compared to the Wolverine, but in turn, it's 20 points cheaper, and it's extremely bloody fast. At 50 kilometers an hour off-road, you can really run away or get to the front line, or chase down any target with absolute ease. And this just makes the Hellcat extremely potent, is the ability to choose your engagements. As with the speed, it gives you, if you see a tiger coming towards you, you can just get on out of here before the tiger can get into range. And really what I find the speed to be most useful for is chasing down enemy heavy tanks. Because the one problem with the Hellcat, is that it doesn't have veterancy, which is a rather big deal. As at long range fights, you're probably going to miss. You really do need a command vehicle to make the Hellcat a much more potent threat. But if you manage to stun up, let's say, a Panther tank with some bombs or artillery and it's fallen back, you can very easily chase out retreating tank and get into a range to be able to shoot it and actually get the kill. The Hellcat isn't best used in head-on tank-on-tank fights unless you get a lot of Hellcats, which you can do. Is they're rather cheap. You can get one per minute and have money left over in B phase, and you get a rather plentiful amount of Hellcats. But I find them best in that role. Also, the one thing with Hellcats is they are easily scared, because they only have 4 frontal armor and 2 side, 2 rear armor is an open top vehicle as well. They can be strafed by Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs and be forced to retreat. And that is a pain in the ass, but it's not the end of the road, because the Hellcat's extremely fast. When it retreats really fast and gets out of danger pretty quickly. So just because of that speed, it really gives it a lot more survivability compared to your regular Wolverines. And really, I'd say, take all the Hellcats. I mean, you only have like 1 slot left, like regular anti-tank guns, but who needs anti-tank guns when you've got so many bloody Hellcats? Anti-air, it's standard, M16s, M15s. There's nothing really to say here. Artillery, a little bit interesting. You got 6mm mortars, which you'd see in like an American infantry division, for example. Maybe you get them in 3rd armor, don't quote me on that. And you do get single mortar half-tracks in A phase, which are really good because the American mortar half-track is a 50 cal, it's mobile, and it has a lot of ammunition. So it's a very nice all-purpose unit. You also got an M4A1 off-map, which is also a pretty good A phase unit, as it's got the armor, it's got good fire support to help fight an infantry, and with an off-map you can stun up a town or try to knock out a single anti-tank gun in a short period of time. So not a bad unit. You got some priests in B phase, but why would you take a 105mm self-propelled gun when you can just take a 155mm self-propelled gun? The M12 GMC is a really weird unit, because this is the last unit that you'd expect to see in 4th Armoured. As this is a siege breaker, this is this sort of giant siege gun that has long range and does a lot of boom. It's slow, it takes a long time to reload, it's really expensive. This isn't something that you'd think would mess well with 4th Armoured, which is about cheaper vehicles, having a lot of them, and making sure they're fast and speedy and all that stuff. And it's kind of right, this is kind of odd in its division, but it can be pretty useful, especially if you're fighting against a very heavy Axis C-phase division, tank division, like Trelf or Paris or Panzer, for example, and you haven't managed to win in the first 20 minutes somehow. As the M12 can just, batter the Panthers and Tigers and keep them stressed out. So it does a pretty good job, and also counter battery and enemy artillery pieces and blowing up anti-tank guns in one shot. The M12 doesn't muck about when it comes to blowing stuff up at a long and deadly range. Airplanes, there's nothing really too crazy here. I mean, it's nothing heavy, but it's all pretty good stuff. You got a P-38 unarmed recon plane. It's not that bad, in all honesty. There's also a 2-star veterancy run, where the veterancy does make it get less stressed out when being shot at by anti-air fire, but it doesn't really help that much, and taking pictures, so I find the unveterancy run to be much better. And you got the B-26 Marauder, which used to be extremely bloody broken, and made A-phase 4th Armoured be almost impossible to deal with if your opponent knew how to use this goddamn, pretty much World War II A-10 Thunderbolt, as with a lot of machine guns, 7 forward firing machine guns, as well as 2 on the back. You can pretty easily strafe any anti-tank gun position, infantry, heck even tanks, extremely efficiently. It has a lot of ammo for the machine guns, and this is also extremely resilient plane. It used to be an extremely resilient plane. 20mm flak fire would just bounce off the rather thick American steel. Now it's not as broken, you can stretch this thing out with regular anti-air fire in a reasonable amount of time, but it's still a rather powerful aircraft if it do manage to get air supremacy and you can just start strafing those pesky anti-tank guns, which is going to be the main thing stopping you from doing your pushes. You got P-38 Lightning, some B and C phase, more Armadas, and some P-38 bombers, and then some B-26 bombers. And that's really it for the individual units, so let's take a look at a division that I built earlier. Once again, the deck code is in the description below, and all that good stuff. So let's jump right in. A phase, 1 card of Bantams for some mobile recon, A phase Cav Scouts, and then B phase Cav Scouts. All you really need. Infantry, of course, taking the A phase leader, and we're taking all 3 cards of rifles, as this is an A phase division. You're really trying to, make that push happen. And these rifles are good, cheap infantry to help, hold the line, fill in forests, fill in towns, so your armored units can move up and take the next point. Riflemen are riflemen. They're good, they're bloaty, they're not that great by themselves, but with a bit of fire support, they can do some nice work. LMG rifles for some half-track ops and infantry. They are a bit more expensive compared to regular rifles, but good having some sort of half-track infantry in A phase and good machine guns. And then B phase is armored rifles. I find it to be more than enough to get you by and have the veterancy, which is good. Tanks, of course, you take Abrams. You would be an idiot not to take Abrams. Taking 2 cards of the veterancy search, because I find them to be rather nice and just good to get in a pinch, and the C phase 76mm Sherman. Support, A phase supply truck, as it's pretty much necessary as you have no other supply till C. M20 command for the needed command to make your units good. M8 cavalry, so some extra light fire support. And then B phase 105 Shermans for B phase fire support. It's still a great unit at knocking out anti-tank guns, and of course the C phase supply, because you will need it by C phase. Anti-tank, like I said, you just take all the Hellcats and then just 1 card of 57mm AT gun in A phase just to help consolidate your position if you're trying to hold any area on the defense. Nice thing about AT guns, I forgot to mention, they pretty much all come in half tracks, so if you play a bit more conservatively or smart, you wouldn't rush your half-track to its death after unloading, but keep it nearby the AT gun and just relocate the AT gun after it takes a few shots. It really does do a huge amount of difference in making sure your AT guns actually survive and be really bloody useful. It's something that I don't even do that often, I'm not going to lie, but when pulled off, it makes a pretty huge difference, and you're effective yourself just a rather standard 57mm AT gun. Anti-air, M16s in A phase, and then just M15s for the rest of the match, as these M15s are more than enough to keep the Luftwaffe in its hangars. Artillery, I like taking all the mortar half-tracks, as they fill in the role you need for 4th armoured, which is mobile, medium range, a bit cheap. It's cheaper than the M7 artillery support, and the American mortar half-track is fantastic. It is such a bloody good unit. And then the M12, just in case you haven't managed to win by C phase and you need to knock out some bunkers, I find these to be much more useful in a team game environment compared to a 1v1. And a 1v1, this is pretty useless, as it's rather expensive. Airplanes, recon planes to scout array. I'm not taking the A phase B-26 Marauder, even though it can be pretty good. I'd rather read to a B phase and get him, as the extra veterancy helps out. And I'm not really taking any bombers, as I don't really find them to be all too useful. You just want something a bit cheap, and these things you can get 1 per minute in B phase, which is nice. But you also got a lot of P-38 Lightnings, which are also going to be used to strafe targets, because they're pretty decent strafers, and to keep completing air supremacy. You're not really doing all your heavy damage from the air. It's really coming from your ground forces, where you're going to be killing stuff. This is just help to stun stuff up and knock out AT guns and keep the skies clear, and stopping Messerschmitts and rocket planes from blowing up your Hellcats, as that is pretty much the biggest threat to the Hellcats is enemy airplanes. So overall, the pros of this division: Hellcat. It's an extremely good unit. The only problem is it doesn't have the veterancy, but just the ability to be able to pick its fights due to the speed is huge, absolutely huge with the Hellcats, and really makes him an annoyance to fight against when you're fighting against him, as if you don't manage to get the killing blow before it runs away, you're not gonna catch up. You're just not. It's gonna be able to get back its morale and come back for round two. It's extremely aggressive A-phase division, which is pretty obvious. You can push hard and take a lot of ground if you know what you're doing, and you have a lot of lovely A-phase units to really make it a reality. And you got a nice income curve. You're not really buggered for income at all for this division, and because of how cheap a lot of the units are in this division, it really goes hand in hand with the income curve. Now, the cons of this division, I honestly really couldn't think of anything like super lackluster for 4th Armoured, apart from the fact that they lack a bit of veterancy compared to other divisions. Like the Hellcats not having veterancy is a big one. Maybe some of the infantry, but you got a decent amount of numbers and you got good fire support. It's not really that big of a deal. 4th Armoured is an extremely good division. That's really all I have to say. It's not as broken as it was. Desert Rats has taken that role, but it's still extremely bloody good. There's really not much wrong with this division. It's extremely competitive. There's still a good reason why, in pretty much previous tournaments, 4th Armoured was banned all the bloody time, because people were terrified of 4th Armoured even after the nerfs, because it's extremely bloody potent. You can get your ass handed to you rather quickly when Patton comes knocking on your door. And with that out of the way, let's see how 4th Armoured actually performs in a match. And we are back. We are on a 1v1 on Samont Leia Arvont, and we have Mickey playing as 4th Armoured Division against, Stride D-Drag, or otherwise known as Curbs, playing as the 17th SS Panzer Grenadier Division. And we'll take a look at Mickey's decks. He has a few changes. A lot more A-phase recon. He's going to be ditching one card of Hellcat for a C-phase 76mm gun. A little less in the anti-air, a little less artillery. He is taking the off-map artillery in A-phase. And also taking the Shermans, the regular C-phase Shermans, the M4A1s. I do want to mention the reason my deck doesn't take like the regular M4A1 Shermans, even though they're pretty card efficient and point efficient, is I don't really find them to be personally useful in my playstyle. I find the Stuarts to really fill in the gap. I just much prefer having 2 Stuarts compared to 1 Sherman. And also I usually have enough Hellcats, and you can also get the 76mm Shermans in the field, and the 105 Shermans if you need to knock out infantry to really fill in that regular Sherman role. But there's still bloody Shermans. You can get 1 per minute. It's still a good card. I'm not going to lie. It's whatever tickles your fancy. I'd say my deck is really more focused on team games, as they usually are, while Mickey's deck here is definitely a dedicated 1v1 build. So, let's take a look at how the map really felt. It's just a pretty good map, and somewhat Leavant, this is definitely an advantageous side to have. You pretty much got his forest under control. He's going to fight against SS Stormtroops, which are going to beat out his Riflemen with that in a pretty much a lone run-on-run duel. The Riflemen do have a lot of HP, so they will be able to survive that SMG onslaught for a little bit. But the middle of the map really supports Mickey, as Hellcats can outrange a single stug Curbs has. And also you can only get, I believe, 1 pack 40 in A-phase for 17th. And I believe that's a thing coming in over here to the left. Which is really at and the stug are the 2 major threats for Mickey in A-phase. If he can knock out or deal with both of them, he has pretty clear chances of just pushing through and taking lots of territory. Looking at the initial start out, he's going to be bringing Hellcat into the middle, which is a pretty good choice. It's completely shut down that area. Infantry into the forest. Left hand side, he's got 2 Bantams, as well as an off-map Sherman, which would be a pretty good choice. I'm guessing he's gonna barrage this area first, because it's a rather obvious spot, and then try to move in with Rifleman. Yeah, move in with the Rifleman. He's got the Bantams, yeah, to do some Bantam bans. He's also going to be pushing pretty hard in the middle of the third Gauji, probably just trying to probe enemy positions to see where anything is. Just send some rifles to the right. See, the Bantams pretty damn good in an open field fight against Panzer Grenadiers. And they definitely do quite a bit of damage. But a Pack 40 is getting into position, and this smoke is pretty beneficial for it. I say beneficial because I thought the Sherman could shoot it, but nah. So it's not beneficial at all now. Good smoke there from Mickey, saving his last Bantam. Puts the Flag C villain. And the Bantam doesn't really have much of a chance against a Flag C villain. Oh, no, off-map drops in just in the nick of time. Dropping on the right-hand side here. It's kind of a shame in this replay we can't actually see where he's putting a new off-map before, you know, the off-map actually comes in and blows everything up, but that's Steel Division for you. Now the forest is pretty clearly under Kerb's control at the moment with the Stormtroops. I mean, Mickey doesn't really have much of a chance unless you get some artillery to help out. And this goes Hellcat, he's not going to be doing any crazy pushes with it. It's really just, yeah, to deter anything from moving up. And there's really nothing in the middle that can outrange him. I mean, Pack 40's on the left, so he definitely knows our chair. So everyone has to worry about this being shot at by a Pack 40 here, for example. It's a Pack 38, yo, and that can kill him. If the Hellcat gets in range, that is. Rifleman taking some fire, and Kerb's getting a nice chunk of forest. But the thing is, Mickey's got nice +1 point advantage, and he's putting a lot of pressure on left at the second off-map strike onto the forest, where he doesn't have any infantry immediately to exploit it. He's going to be moving around the Bantam, try to exploit the artillery barrage. Bringing in some more rifles now. As the rifle squad from before gets unstunned. And we got, oh, the 221 PZB-41. Very interesting choice. And Hellcat is going to engage it. And Hellcat's pretty much just going to win that engagement. Yeah, the 50 cal on top really helps out a lot against light armored vehicles early on. But even if it doesn't kill them, which it can, it stresses them out rather quickly, allowing the 76mm gun a bit of extra time to get online before blowing things up to Kingdom Come. You see, the Hellcat's got a lovely angle on the 22, or 221. Yeah, it is, though the AI isn't automatically targeting it because it is running array, but as you see, there we go, it blows up. It's a bit of a shame that Mickey doesn't have Cav Scout here. It's a perfect chance to shoot the Stunk F8. But still, the Hellcat is going to be repositioning to an area. And if he hugs around the left-hand side of the map here, he can outrange, and he probably won't necessarily kill the Stunk, as he doesn't really have the veterancy. He's probably going to miss at max range. But it's going to be enough to force it to maneuver away, and that's what Stunk is doing right now. On the right hand side, it's very blue, and that's really just because of the fact that Kerb's doesn't really have anything else on its right side. We just got the Hellcat here exploiting, and Mickey knows it's going to be nothing over here, so he can easily move this up, and he's also getting a Bantam to try to exploit the area. The off-map Sherman is taking some hits from the Stunk, and it does go down. I believe it only got 2 out of its 3 off-map charges off, which is a bit of a shame for Mickey, but still better than having all the charges still there and being blown up. Not entirely worst case scenario. The close range of rifles should beat out the Panzer Grenadiers, and Stug is going to come around his corner, and that will give first shot advantage to the Hellcat. Yes, it will. Oh no, Stug gets first shot, but Hellcat gets a hit. technically at close range. Yeah, the Hellcat does get an advantage at close range. Because this gun is 1.2 kilometers, versus only a 1 kilometer gun, so you get the extra accuracy per 100 or 200 meters or so. So you also got to keep that in mind. But yeah, it's just a nice plus 2 point advantage. Mickey's putting pressure on the right and on the left rather sufficiently. There's not really much that Kurt's can really do in A phase. He's going to be getting a Naval Raffer out. Is that a Naval Raffer? It's probably going to be a Naval Raffer. Yes, it is a Naval Raffer. It's a good choice, as I can definitely stress out the Hellcat if the Hellcat stays still long enough, that is. And we got the Marder on the right hand side, and it's perfect conditions to bring us out. No anti-aircraft units. It's just a bunch of short targets to deal with. These AT guns and IG-18s are perfect targets for the Marder. And the Marder, just like an A10 Warthog, can linger around the battlefield and just strafe the everlasting Jesus out of everything. Why have one 30mm cannon when you just have 7 50 cal machine guns? The Hellcat right did get hit a bit, but as you see, it does manage to evac in a rather timely fashion, thanks to its lovely speed. And the Marder doing lovely hits on the Pack 38 on the right. Bantam getting some hits on the flag to fill in. It's going to be rather close, but the Bantam does manage to pin down the flag just in time. Great neighbour strike here from Curbs. It's going to force the Rifleman out and Mickey to pull back his Hellcat, but it's getting another Bantam here for defense. These Bantams are really good at holding forest areas that you don't have control of, or outskirts of forests. Like for example here, Mickey doesn't know where his Stas troops are, where the infantry is. So just as the Bantam out of range of a potential Panzerfaust strike. I mean, it could get Panzerschrecked at this range. And if anything does try to move out the forest, the Bantam gives it, a bit of a love tap with the 50 cal machine gun. And the Riflemen are going to be engaging. And Stas troops, there's only one left, and a 2-on-1 against rifles, it's not good of chances. And you see the B-26, it's not the best fighter, as you can tell. But with the M16 and also the 50 cals on the field, the Messerschmitt is going to be forced to retreat and won't have any chance after shooting the rockets to try to shoot down the B-26. And it's really just the forest which is the real, pain in the neck here for Mickey here. That's really stopping him from pushing harder in the middle or on the right hand side. Though he still has lovely control on the left. As you see, he's finally got the cavalry scouts. Almost managed to kill the Stug, but he's going to be bringing around the Hellcat in a rather risky maneuver. But he's going to get first shot because he has the turret, and down goes the Stug. And he's going to pull it back because there's a potential AT gun there, where he knows there's the Pack 40 there. I mean, just bloody shooting it with the Rifleman squad. And this is going to completely open up the left-hand side of the map for now. We are on B phase shows, so 17th does get good reinforcements with more tanks and AT guns. They have taken some rather heavy losses, and it will take him a little bit to be able to get all that stuff online. As you see, he has opted to get a Fokker-Wolf, which isn't going to prove all too good against that B-26 as the M16's here. So I highly doubt he's going to shoot it down. Nope. So Mickey still has a bit of an opening to, push harder, push even further. And that's exactly what he's doing on the left hand side now. As the Pack 40 is being forced to retreat, moving up the Bantam as well. And once he knows that's completely, this forest is completely clear, he'll probably move around the Hellcat to help out. Got another rocket plane here, but yeah, it's just not going to be enough. This Curbs is really trying to focus on the air power. It isn't exactly paying off for him. Yes, man's to penetrate a bit deeper into the forest with some Panzer Grenadiers, but at this point, it's not really a stronghold on the forest. If Curbs was to have like an AT gun here, for example, on the other side of the forest, he it'd be a lovely position to try to shoot Hellcats and Bantams and cut off reinforcement lines, but alas, that's not really the case at the moment, and as you can see, Mickey is just making huge leaps of ground on the left-hand side. It's a little bit slower because you're really using Riflemen. You don't have as many motorized units in A phase or 4th Armoured. Motorized mechanized infantry, I should say. But still enough to push. You just can't push ludicrously like Guards Armoured could. Guards Armoured just load up a bunch of motor rifles in hard tracks, fast move somewhere, pop a bit of smoke in front of your push, and you know, if you run into a tank, just fast move into it and load at 200 meters and hopefully Piat will hit. But for now, Mickey's got a lovely defensive position. He's got a +2. He doesn't really need to move up any further. This is a perfect area for him. The middle is also perfect for him to hold on to. Yeah, it's just kind of a slow victory now. I mean, pretty much at this point, Mickey is really cemented a victory. There's not really much that 17th can do at this point. There's just so much pressure on Mickey. Is much more units on the field, much more effective units and powerful units. Yeah, as we see, Striss or Curbs doesn't really has one tank now on the field at Stug 4. But there's an AT gun here, as well as a Hellcat, as well as an M5 Stuart. Which in a run and run against Eva isn't really that scary, but you know, combined using the Stuart to try to flank the Stug while the Hellcat's using it can be a rather potent force. And using a 105 Sherman to great effect, he's just blind firing there at the Pack 40, but with the ARE damage is going to be enough to do damage and force it to retreat. And the Hellcat is going to fall there, get an engine destroyed, and a mobile Hellcat. It's pretty much a dead Hellcat. And our 105 Sherman is going to draw some fire for now. The Hellcat is trying to fall back, but he can't fall back with a destroyed engine. That's going to give the Stug ample time now to shoot it, as it was auto-targeting the 105 Sherman earlier. Still auto-targeting the 105 Sherman, but now he should shoot the M18 Hellcat. Does he even have... No, he doesn't have line of sight, my bad. That's right, he's not doing that. I take it back. And does lose a Stuart and Bantam. Those aren't huge losses. But you can just get more Hellcats with 4th Armoured. You can just get so many more Hellcats. You can get 1 per minute. And Curbs taps out, and that's pretty much a good game. Not too far out in terms of kills, only like a 300 kill difference. You see the Hellcat does a rather tremendous work here, knocking out a Stug, 2 Stugs, as well as some light vehicles. B-26 Marauder, even though it only has machine guns, it still does some nice work, knocking out well, not lightly armoured, static weaponry. And nothing really too standard out. Yeah, and for the Germans, nothing either. But that's just 4th Armoured. It's just a really good division. There's nothing really else to say. They're a really bloody good division. Not as broken on release, mind you, but still a bit broken. Still a bit broken. And I'm gonna leave it off. Yeah, this has been another Steel Division divisional overview. We got one more division left before we've covered all the proper divisions for Steel Division, and that will be the Poles next time. So, see you guys then, and as usual, please just take it easy.